الحمد لله الذي هدانا للإسلام ومن علينا ببعثة خير الأنام. نحمده تعالى على نعمه العظام ونشكره على آلائه الجسام، ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله الملك القدوس السلام، ونشهد أن نبينا محمدا عبده ورسوله القدوة الإمام، صلوات الله عليه وسلامه وعلى صحبه الكرام. أما بعد، فيا أيها الإخوة، في هذه الخطبة إن شاء الله سوف نستمر في موضوع الحرية مع التركيز على حرية التعبير. الإسلام يقر حرية التعبير حتى لو كان الكلام غير صحيح أو سيء، شريطة ألا يضر بسمعة الشخص، مثلا كاتهامه بارتكاب جريمة من دون دليل. الأمر بالمعروف والنهي عن المنكر هو واجب جماعي لا يمكن تنفيذ هذا الواجب دون حرية التعبير. المبدأ القرآني للتشاور يتطلب أيضا حرية التعبير. المجتمع الذي يسير على مبدأ التشاور يحترم حرية التعبير. حرية التعبير يجب ألا تقتصر على الحديث الذي هو صحيح وجيد، لأن ما هو صحيح وجيد في نظر شخص واحد يمكن أن يكون خاطئ وسيء في نظر آخر. ولذلك في عهد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم والخلفاء نرى أن هناك حرية الحديث ولو كان سيء أو خطأ. حرية التعبير هي الحرية الأكثر أهمية. إذا تم احترام هذه الحرية يمكن احترام جميع الحريات والحقوق الأخرى، ولكن إذا لم يتم احترامها سوف يؤدي إلى مجتمع يعيش في ظلام وظلم. لذا دعونا نحاول استعادة هذه الحرية في بلادنا بأي ثمن. نحاول استعادة هذه الحرية في بلادنا بأي ثمن. الدول العربية بحاجة أيضا لحراسة هذه الحرية، لأنها يجب النظر فيها. ما من أحد انتقد الكيان الصهيوني سيتم معاقبته، وإذا كان يهاجم الإسلام والمسلمين يعتبرونها حرية التعبير. Dear brothers and sisters, In this khutbah, I will insha'Allah continue with the subject of freedom, focusing on freedom of speech. If someone has personally suffered a wrong, then the Book of Allah gives him or her the right to publicly speak against the wrongdoer. لا يحب الله الجهر لا يحب الله الجهر بالسوء من القول إلا من ظلم وكان الله سميعا عليما إن تبدوا خيرا أو تخفوه أو تعفوا عن سوء فإن الله كان عفوا قديرا. Allah does not love that evil speech should be uttered in public except by him who has been wronged. And Allah is hearing, knowing. Whether you disclose some good deed or conceal it, or pardon an evil, know that Allah is surely prone to pardoning and is powerful. Al-Jahra bis-Su means publicly talking against someone or something. The verse clearly gives Muslims the right to talk against someone who has wronged them. This may not always be the best or the most effective course of action to deal with a wrong, but we are talking about rights. And this verse clearly gives every victim the right to publicly talk against the one who has wronged him. We should not allow anyone to take this right away from Muslims, which Allah has given them. Now in Muslim countries, many are victims of zulm. So the Quran gives them the right to publicly speak against those who are responsible for zulm, including the rulers. If the wrong is not done to us personally, then we should, whenever possible, help the victims to get justice. This is because of the Islamic teaching of ukhuwa or brotherhood, which requires that we help each other. The freedom of speech is also required by the Islamic principle of Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar, enjoining what is right and prohibiting what is wrong. This principle defines not just a right but a duty in Islam, but this duty cannot be performed without freedom of speech. Likewise, the freedom to express one's opinion is required by the Quranic principle of Shura. This is because true consultation cannot take place without freedom to express one's opinion. Suppose I want to consult you on some matter, but I do not allow you to say what you think. Can this be described as consultation? Clearly not. Hence, a society run on the principle of shura or consultation has to have freedom of speech, even critical speech. Since rulers have a lot of power, their zulm can be much more serious than the zulm done by ordinary people. For this reason, many ahadith stress the virtue of acting or speaking against the zulm of rulers. For example, ما من نبي بعثه الله في أمة قبلي إلا كان له من أمته حواريون وأصحاب يأخذون بسنته ويقتدون بأمره ثم إنها تخلف من بعدهم خلوف يقولون ما لا يفعلون ويفعلون ما لا يؤمرون فمن جاهدهم بيده فهو مؤمن ومن جاهدهم بلسانه فهو مؤمن ومن جاهدهم بقلبه فهو مؤمن وليس وراء ذلك من الإيمان حبة خردل. Never a prophet had been sent before me, says Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, towards his nation, who had not among his people his disciples and companions, who followed his ways and obeyed his command. Then there came after them their successors, who said whatever they did not practice, and practiced whatever they were not commanded by Allah and His Messenger. He who strove against them with his hand was a believer. He who strove against them with his tongue was a believer. And he who strove against them with his heart was a believer. And beyond that, there is no faith even to the extent of a mustard seed. يا عباد الله بارك الله لنا ولكم في القرآن العظيم ونفعنا وإياكم بالآيات والذكر الحكيم إنه تعالى جواد كريم مالك بر رؤوف رحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تقدموا بين يدي الله ورسوله واتقوا الله إن الله سميع عليم. واستغفروا ربكم إنه غفور رحيم. أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين. الحمد لله من توكل عليه كفاه ومن لاذ بحماه حفظه ووقاه. ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ونشهد أن محمدا رسول الله صلى الله وسلم وبارك عليه وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه ومن سار على نهجه واهتدى بهداه. In light of the spirit of the teachings of Islam, the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Khulafa al-Rashidun accepted freedom of speech even if it was against them. In a hadith found in many narrations in Bukhari, Muslim and others, we read that after the conquest of Makkah or in the battle of Hunain, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam for a reason gave booty to some people belonging to the Quraysh according to most narrations and not to others. This decision was criticized by those who felt that they should also have received the booty. Ansar according to most narrations. In some narrations, the criticism of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is voiced in a very strong statement. Thus, in one narration, some people say, فقالوا يغفر الله لرسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يؤتي قريشا ويتركنا وسيوفنا تقطر من دمائهم. May Allah forgive Allah's Messenger as He gives to the Quraysh and leaves us, although our swords are still dribbling with the blood of the Quraysh. In another narration we read, فَقَالَتِ الْأَنصَارُ إِذَا كَانَتْ شَدِيدَةٌ فَنَحْنُ نُدْعَى وَيُؤْتَى الْغَنِيمَةَ غَيْرُنَا. When there is some difficulty, we are called by Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But the booty is given to people other than us. In yet another narration, one man even says, قال رجل من الأنصار ما أراد بها وجه الله. The man says the Prophet did not intend to please Allah in this distribution of the booty. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam did not punish any of these people. Instead, according to most narrations, he answered people's criticism by explaining his decision and by expressing his love for both the Muhajirin and Ansar. This hadith does not mean that we can also criticize the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Na'udhu billah. For now the revelation has been completed and all the actions and decisions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam have been either approved by Allah or corrected by Him. What the hadith means is that the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was showing by his example that those who are in leadership, they have to give people the right to express their criticisms. In the time of the Khulafa Rashidun, also we find respect for people's freedom of speech. We see examples of public criticism or questioning in public matters, sometimes directed to the Khalifa himself. One such example is provided by a well-known story about Sayyidina Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. وقف عمر يخطب الناس وعليه ثوب طويل فقال أيها الناس اسمعوا وعوا. فقال سلمان الفارسي والله لا نسمع ولا نعي. فقال عمر ولما يا سلمان؟ قال تلبس ثوبين وتلبسنا ثوبا. فقال عمر لابنه عبد الله يا عبد الله قم أجب سلمان. فقال عبد الله إن بي رجل طويل. فأخذ ثوب الذي هو قسمي مع المسلمين وغسله بثوبي. فقال سلمان الآن قل يا أمير المؤمنين نسمع وأمر نطيع. Sayyidina Umar usually wore simple patched up clothes, but once he came to the masjid with a new long robe. The robe was made out of a cloth that had been distributed as booty, and the piece distributed to everyone was not enough to make the long robe. Noticing this, Salman Farsi stood up when Sayyidina Umar was about to give a sermon and asked how he acquired this robe. Sayyidina Umar asked his son Abdullah radiyallahu ta'ala anhuma to come forward and explain. His son explained that knowing his father to be tall, he gave him his own share of the cloth so that he could have a sufficiently long dress. The Salman Farsi radiyallahu ta'ala an and others were satisfied. Sayyidina Umar set aside a special area next to the masjid where people could shout and recite poetry and say what they wanted. The type of talk that is not permitted in the mosque. Umar ibn al-Khattab bana rahbat fi nahiyat al-masjid tusamma al-Butayha وقال من كان يريد أن يلغت أو ينشد شعرا أو يرفع صوته فليخرج إلى هذه الرحبة. Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala an set aside an area near the mosque called Al-Butayha and said, whoever wishes to talk nonsense or recite poetry or raise his voice should go to that area instead of talking in the masjid. Sayyidina Uthman was very viciously criticized by many people, and some of them even later martyred him, but he did not jail or kill or torture any one of them. Freedom of speech cannot be limited to talk that is right and good. For what is right and good in the eyes of one person can be wrong and bad in the eyes of another. Therefore, in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Khulafa, we see that the freedom extended even to bad and wrong talk, which is left for Allah to punish or forgive. We have already seen an example of this from the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when people unjustifiably criticized his decision. Here is another example from the time of Sayyidina Ali radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. 5 men were arrested because they were openly using abusive language against Ali radiyallahu ta'ala anhu in the streets of Kufa. And one of them was even saying that he will kill Sayyidina Ali. When they were brought before Sayyidina Ali, he freed them. Those who made the arrest said, this man was saying that he will kill you. Sayyidina Ali radiyallahu ta'ala anhu replied, should I kill him simply because he says he will kill me? They said, these were using abusive language against you. Sayyidina Ali said, if you like, you can retaliate by abusing them similarly. On the basis of this incident, Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi alayhi ruled that merely abusing even a just ruler like Sayyidina Ali radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, or expressing a thought of killing him is not sufficient to punish a person. Thus, Islam practically gives freedom for all types of speech. But there is one speech that is punishable, and that is making false accusation without proof that seriously affects the reputation of a person. For example, accusing muhsanat of adultery without being able to provide proof. Such speech is legally punishable in Islam. The freedom of speech is the most important freedom. If this freedom is respected, all other freedoms and rights can be respected. But if this one freedom is not respected, then the society can be plunged into darkness and injustice. Let us therefore try to restore this freedom in Muslim countries, whatever the price. Whatever the price. Western countries also need to guard this freedom because they are passing or interpreting laws so as to punish criticism of the Zionist entity as hate speech, while interpreting vicious attacks on Islam and Muslims as simple exercise of freedom of speech. Dear brothers, I end the khutbah by reminding you that one of our brothers, Mahmoud Afifi, is sick in a hospital. He has been hospitalized for more than 3 weeks now, and we will inshallah pray that may Allah give him shifa and make his recovery fast. And whoever else has any difficulties or disease or whatever difficulties of life, may Allah also help all of us. ربنا لا تدع لنا ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا هما إلا فرجته ولا مريضا إلا شفيته ولا ميتا إلا رحمته ولا مجاهدا إلا نصرته ولا دينا إلا قضيته ولا حاجة أخرى هي لك رضا إلا قضيتها يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم اجعل لنا سعادة وسرورا في الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم خلد بلاد الإسلام وانصر مسلمين في كل مكان. اللهم زدنا ولا تنقصنا وأكرمنا ولا تهنا وآتنا ولا تحرمنا وآثرنا ولا تؤثر علينا وارضنا وارض عنا. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما وأقم الصلاة.